So I picked up the phone. We had a conversation. He's like, "Where are you at right now?" I'm like, "I'm in Dallas, Texas." He goes, "I'll be there in 6 hours." I'm like, "You're not going to be here in 6 hours."
Hey everyone, this is Rick, and welcome back to the Seed the Startup Journey, the entrepreneurship podcast sharing the origin stories of amazing founders and their companies in less than 20 minutes. The guy I'll be chatting with today, I'm not exactly sure how to best introduce him. He was the executive producer for Squatty Potty's ice cream pooping unicorn ad, as well as the executive producer for the TV show The Chosen. He's also the founder of Vid Summit, a conference that brings together video creators and brands like Gary Vee. On top of all that, he's also the mentor of MrBeast and has helped over 25 YouTube channels go from 0 to over 1 million subscribers. It'll take too long for me to list out all of his accomplishments, so let's jump right into it. Hey Derral, to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe show us some of your YouTube play buttons?
Got a few. My name is Derral Eves. I've been on YouTube since 2005, and I've had an agency that we'd work with creators and brands since 99. And we fell in love with YouTube when we discovered it in 2005 and became obsessed with actually getting results, whether it was first off getting people to take action in videos, and then it led to audience development. Since then, we've done 60 billion video views on YouTube, and we work with the top brands and creators on the planet, and we just love what we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And when I was doing some research about you, I found that you built a computer malware when you were in 3rd grade. Is that correct?
How did you hear about these things? Yeah, no, it all started out like my fascination with computers was in the 3rd grade. And yes, I did a piece of malware that I got kicked out of school after I did that and kind of pranked my teacher a little bit. But yeah, no, it's been good.
And well, so you got kicked out of school, but you still went to college. And then I think after when you graduated, you started buying newspapers, and then you were running your own internet business as well. So how did you go from that into YouTube? Can you tell me that journey a bit more?
Yeah, so like for me, and I've always been an entrepreneur and have multiple businesses that kind of help each other grow. So like when I first started, I had an agency that we worked with different mom and pop shops, brick and mortar stores, and helping them get a website out there. And then we'd host the website, and then we'd actually rank the website. And I was like, how do we get more clients? Like, what was a way to do that? And I had an opportunity to buy a local newspaper, and I thought, oh, they're able to do that, and I can get them to buy websites and go that direction. And it worked out really well. And we've been able to scale. And then where I got into video was in 2005, I was introduced to YouTube, and my passion, my love has always been video. And that was the first time I was able to see video play without a buffer. So before, when you on the internet, when you'd hit play on a video, it'd have to load the whole video, and then it would play it. So sometimes it'd take 15 minutes to play a video. But when I discovered YouTube, that wasn't necessarily the case. You could actually hit and play, and then you could also embed those videos on websites. And so I spent the next little bit convincing all my clients to get videos to put on their websites, because I thought that was a great upsell. So that's kind of how that all worked, and that's how we got here today.
Yeah, for sure. And then after 15 years, I think, of YouTube, you've helped over 25 channels, is that correct, reach over 1 million subscribers.
We've done a lot more than that. When I give that stat, it's when when we actually created a strategy from zero. So like we'll get people coming in all the time that we coach or we help, get to the next level. But this is like, they just don't even have an idea, and they're like, hey, let's do this. And so we've helped 25 of those ideas translate from, hey, this might be a good thing, to gold play button.
Gotcha. And so you're kind of putting all your knowledge of YouTube right now into your upcoming book, The YouTube Formula. So I ordered it. I'm super excited to read it, but just kind of right off the bat, could you tell us some tips, on how we could grow on YouTube?
Yeah, absolutely. So the book was a lot of work. And I was trying, like, how do you actually do a book that is going to be relevant 5-6 years down the road? Because, things change so fast. And I truly do believe that the way that we position the book is going to be solid, because it's in 3 parts. So the first part is the YouTube history and why YouTube made certain decisions to be where they're at today. And some of those decisions were algorithmic based. Ever since they shifted to an AI back in 2013, it's been the same. Like, it hasn't changed at all. Basically, the AI is trying to predict what people want to watch, and the algorithms that it controls helps achieve and accomplish the goals that the AI has. Part 2 of the book deals with the opportunity, and we've been around in the industry long enough that we've been able to see all different types of opportunity. And I think the biggest mistake, whether you're a creator or a brand, is we limit ourselves of what we can truly do with YouTube. And so that's part 2. And then part 3 is the YouTube formula. And in short, the YouTube formula is just the human formula. It's how humans respond to video content online. And basically going back all the way to 1984 when I got obsessed with video, just seeing, how it's progressed and how humans respond to certain things. And, the patterns that we can look at in whether it's a YouTube video or what have you, and make the necessary adjustments to get the results that you're looking for.
And would you say YouTube is oversaturated? Like, is it still possible for instance, for my podcast, I have like right now only 100 or so subscribers, to grow on a platform like YouTube?
Every day you're going to find new creators that just, pop off. In fact, I was just texting with a creator just before you. He was able to go from 0 to 1 million subscribers last year. And so it's like, it happens every day. You can get above the noise if you bring value of some sort. So if you're entertaining them, you're inspiring them, you're educating them, and then the consistency of having them want to be deep tied to your content. And I think that value proposition is really important. That's why I take a really major look at that in part 3 of the book, of really defining what you should consider when you're creating your content strategy, regardless of the type of content. Because most people look at YouTube as, if I have a question, I'm going to go to YouTube, or I want to be entertained, I go to YouTube. But the reality is a lot of people use YouTube to de-stress or unwind. Right. And so they have a long, stressful day at work or at school, and they just sit back and veg a little bit and just kind of watch what they're into. Not necessarily wanting to be entertained, but it's kind of a way to just kind of de-stress. And so with that in mind, I mean, there's multiple reasons why people go on, and I go ahead and kind of explain in detail that when you're looking at this and you're providing value for them, that it's fulfilling with the need that they have in their everyday life, then they're going to come back over and over again and consume. You might even binge watch your content and become a super fan out of it.
So what is your thought on, I guess, the future of YouTube, especially with other platforms that are emerging like super fast right now, like TikTok or Clubhouse, which is where I came across your profile?
I do believe that YouTube's going to be around for, 10, 15 years. I mean, the direction of where things are going, it is the entertainment choice for long form video. And then 2, they introduced Shorts a few months ago that's competing with TikTok. But TikTok's its own thing. And I think that people still will go to TikTok, but will still go to YouTube, because YouTube brings in that longer form value that a lot of people are looking for. And their favorite creators are on both platforms, and they'll dip into both places, for that. And I think as YouTube is more mature on the platform of where it's helping creators like me and you, have a sustainable business, it's hard to compete. Like if you make $0 on TikTok, or, just a few $100s on TikTok versus, 7 figures on YouTube, it's a no-brainer to stay on that platform.
And so Derral, you're involved in, not just your companies like VidSummit and Jumpstart, but also The Chosen and even Squatty Potty. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And maybe, what were some of the most challenging moments for you as you go through all these different projects?
Yeah, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Like I said, I love doing the impossible. So The Chosen was kind of formed 3 years ago on what if we could actually produce a HBO quality TV show about the life of Jesus Christ outside of the Hollywood system. What does that look like? And we went through the whole process. And, we've been able to break the all-time crowdfunding record in film and television. The thing that I truly do believe is we found a good distribution partner that made sense. And so VidAngel, the co-founders of VidAngel, I've worked with on several different projects. One being the Squatty Potty Pooping Unicorn. They also own the Harmon Brothers Agency. So there's some of the most disruptive minds in entertainment right now, and it was just great synergy with the right type of project, and then building the audience and been able to go from there. So.
And do you have some sort of like end goal? Like, are you satisfied with where you are right now, or what's the future?
I'm never satisfied. I mean, that's the problem with me. I'm just never satisfied. I always want to take it to one step further. But with The Chosen, our first goal was to get it crowdfunded. So we broke the all-time crowdfunding record, well over $10 million that we were able to raise. We did it in a very disruptive way where instead of doing a crowdfunding campaign where they, give you a t-shirt and slap on the back, they actually became our partners. We got approval with the Securities Exchange Commission to take public money. Once that was done, the next goal was to get it produced. Like, okay, now we've done it. Now we got to get it produced. And so we got it produced, and now our goal is to get it out to 1 billion people. And so we're well on our way. We're like 85 million views right now. We're trying to get it up to 1 billion. And I think we'll get that in about 2 years.
And kind of coming back to YouTube, I mean, you mentioned you've worked with some of the biggest creators on the planet, including MrBeast. And I'm a super big fan of his work. I think I probably watched every single episode. I also sent something to the moon as well. So can you tell me about, how did you meet MrBeast and how were you able to help him?
Yeah, a few years ago, I get this random DM on Twitter. It says, "Hey, can you talk?" And I knew of this creator, and he only had a couple million video views or a couple million subscribers at the time. And I responded, "Sure." So I picked up the phone. We had a conversation. He's like, "Where are you at right now?" I'm like, "I'm in Dallas, Texas." He goes, "I'll be there in 6 hours." I'm like, "You're not going to be here in 6 hours." He says, "No, I'll be there in 6 hours." Well, take all day tomorrow and chat. And he was there in 6 hours, and we kind of hit it off from there. Then it was more, more strategic things that he was looking to do. He's definitely one of the most disruptive creators I've ever been around. And just over the course of the time, I mean, he was able to get well over, 50 million subscribers, and he's very disruptive. He's getting, billions of video views. He's getting 1 billion video views a month on everything that he's doing. But yeah, that's kind of how it all started. We became business partners in a couple ventures, and one being the conference that we put on, Vid Summit, and we have a couple other things that we have going on. But I think the big thing is you never know how big the market is or the opportunity and who the next person is, and like you just got to be cautious and careful, always looking, because like there's always someone pushing the envelope, and I don't think anyone has done videos like him at all on the platform, and a lot of people do it where they clickbait and they don't really fulfill on the promise. Well, he actually fulfills on the promise. When he says, "I bought 5 stores," he literally bought 5 stores, and he spends millions of dollars, producing the content out there. And I think that's the next iteration of YouTube. I think it's going to be higher quality spectacles that happen online, and you can see that Eric, he's been able to grow really, really fast because he has that moment of capturing an audience, and he's just smarter. These creators are getting a lot smarter.
I love that story. And so, do you have any advice for someone like me who is, a student, but I'm interested in entrepreneurship and wants to potentially start something of my own in the future?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is don't be afraid to make mistakes, but if you do, just upload them and learn from them. So it's more about, we have the tools now in analytics to really drill down and, make the right type of decisions. Well, why did they do this? Or I guess they didn't like this version and the click-through rate was bad. Is it the title? Is it the thumbnail? Looking at the average view duration and just making better content. And at the end of the day, the best content wins. And when I say content, it's the title, thumbnail, video. Don't think it's just the video, because I've seen the most amazing videos out there that only get like maybe 100 views just because it has a horrible title and thumbnail and it doesn't pull people into the video, and it could be just amazing. So like, I think it's more about getting that data and then making data-driven decisions and just don't be afraid. Just experiment and figure things out. And that's the main reason why I wrote the book, is because, I wanted to take all the knowledge that I have and translate that back for people that are just starting fresh. If it was my kid that wanted to be the next big YouTuber, I wanted them to see what was truly important and not necessarily listen to the things that aren't necessarily important.
Gotcha. I definitely have to work on the thumbnail and the title part of my videos.
Yep.
So to kind of wrap this up, I prepared a game where it's called Underrated or Overrated. So I will mention some topics and, categorize it. So the first one, Clubhouse.
Underrated for sure. I think it's one of the most disruptive social media platforms out there, because it is dealing with a style of communication that's been around the longest, which is talk radio and radio in specific. And it brings this new infuse of what podcast is, but it's in a more impromptu way that it can be a lot more interactive. Okay, so radio itself is just push only. You're pushing out to an audience. Talk radio, you're bringing people in and pushing it out. So a lot of your ideas come from that. Podcast was just basically push out as well. This is going back to that format where you're feeding off of the audience and you're getting that momentum coming in based off of who's in the room.
And the next one is Bitcoin.
To the moon. That's all I got to say. I early investor in crypto. Yes, I totally do believe in that for sure. All the way. 100%. Go buy now.
Is there anything else I should be buying right now?
I don't know. I think there's definitely meme crypto that's out there that it doesn't really have any real world application to it. It's just more cool and hip. I'm a big Ethereum fan. I think the technology behind that, it makes sense with the ecosystem of where our world's progressing. And, so that's kind of, I'm more interested in that than Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is the first coin. And so I think there's a lot of nostalgic, connection to that. And there's a lot of it just sets the pace for all crypto, I think.
Gotcha. And the next one is waking up early.
I usually get up at 3:50, 4 o'clock in the morning.
So when do you go to sleep?
About midnight, 1 o'clock.
Wow.
I don't sleep much. I need to sleep more, but I don't know what my problem is.
Don't you feel tired or burnt out during the day?
I'll crash about every 6 weeks where I'll get a good 8-10 hours, and then I'm back to the grind. I don't know. I don't know. I just haven't needed it for, the last 20 plus years. So when I was a teenager, I used to sleep all the time. But when I got into my 20s, it was okay. Sleep's overrated.
And then next one, YouTube subscribers.
I would say overrated. I'm more worried about the active viewers and what's in people's watch history than I am that subscribe button.
And this is the last question. What would you say is the best advice you've ever received?
I think it was from my dad. I mentioned this in the book too. It's don't be so arrogant that you think that you know everything. You need to take a step back and realize that everyone that you come in contact with, you can learn something from them. And it's not that we're trying to become them, but you can see some good traits that you can pull into your arsenal or in your toolbox to become better. And that's one thing that I try to do on all aspects of my life, is really look at, what can I learn from people? How can I observe? I found that there are people coming onto YouTube that are just brand new newbies that I can still learn from. And, you just have to be willing to be open to receive and be willing to learn. And so the big portion of my day, I designate at least an hour or two of just learning. And I think there's so much that you can do to absorb information and bring it into your ecosystem and improve your life, whether it's in your relationships or your business or, spiritually or, whatever. I think you can do that on a mass scale. And I think everyone should do that. If not, you're just kind of with the status quo. You're not really growing. And so if you're not really growing, you're not really progressing. And so I think this world's all about progression and becoming a better version of us and looking at every aspect in our lives to do that.
I love that. So that's it for today's interview. Thank you so much for coming on today, Derral. And I wish you the best of luck. Stay safe as well. I hope you enjoyed this episode. That was under 20 minutes, but if you would like to hear my takeaways from chatting with Derral, stick around. First takeaway, Derral's quick tip for creators is to provide value. Fulfill a need that people have in their everyday life. Whether that means to be a source of entertainment, a place where people could distress after a long day of work, or a channel for inspiration and education. For YouTube specifically, Derral said that at the end of the day, the best content wins. And content doesn't just mean video. It means title, thumbnail, and video. You could have an amazing video, but if the title and cover isn't catchy enough, no one's really gonna click into it. And that's something I still have to work on. Finally, I love Derral's last advice, which was don't be so arrogant and think that you know everything. That's actually something I try to live by. I believe that I can learn from everyone that I come across, and I can just be this super malleable sponge and soak up all the knowledge and experience every day, everywhere. Those are the takeaways. This week's startup Droplet is submitted by Cynthia from Taipei, and she's working on an idea called Emotion Bakery. Its goal is to spread mental health awareness to college students using baking bread as the metaphor. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but mental health is a super important topic, and we might even do a themed interview on that in the future. If you also have an idea that you'd like to share, or if you come across a startup that you thought was super cool, make sure to message us and we'll be sure to feature that in our next startup Droplet. That's it for today's episode. Make sure you like this video and subscribe, and let's grow our seed of innovation and creativity together. I'll see you next time.